CDL Practice Test, Florida, General Knowledge, Part 14. Question number 335. What will happen if you have any detectable amount of alcohol under 0.4%? A. You will get a warning and a fine. B. Since it is a small amount, there will be no repercussions. C. You will be put out of service for 24 hours. The correct answer is here, C. You will be put out of service for 24 hours. Explanation. There is no safe amount of alcohol with which to drive a CMV, hence, if you are found to have any detectable back, even if it's under the legal limit of 0.04%, you will be placed out of service for 24 hours. Question number 336. What emergency equipment should you ensure to have with you in your cab? A. Cell phone. B. Batteries and a flashlight. C. Extra blankets and water. D. Triangles and a fire extinguisher. The correct answer is here, D. Triangles and a fire extinguisher. Explanation. While the other options may come in handy, the safety equipment that is required to be in every vehicle are a rated fire extinguisher and reflective triangles. Question number 337. When driving in hot weather, how often should you check your tires? A. You should check your tires every hour. B. Your tires should be checked every time you stop. C. Your tires should be checked at the beginning and end of each trip. D. Your tires should be checked every 100 miles or every 2 hours. The correct answer is here, D. Your tires should be checked every 100 miles or every 2 hours. Explanation. It is important to check your tires at least every 2 hours or every 100 miles to ensure they have proper pressure and are not overheating. Question number 339. A moving vehicle ahead of you has a red triangle with an orange center on the rear. What does this mean? A. The vehicle is hauling hazardous materials. B. It is a law enforcement vehicle. C. It may be a slow-moving vehicle. The correct answer is here, C. It may be a slow-moving vehicle. Explanation. Some vehicles, by their nature, are slow and some of these will have the slow-moving vehicle symbol to warn you. This is a red triangle with an orange center. Question number 340. Which of these items is not checked on a pre-trip inspection? A. Cargo securement. B. Amount of fuel in the vehicle. C. Whether all vehicle lights are working and clean. The correct answer is here, B. Amount of fuel in the vehicle. Explanation. During step 4, turn off engine and check lights. Of the 7-step inspection method, check your headlights and 4-way flashers. During step 5, walk around inspection. Check that your cargo is secure and its weight is evenly distributed. While you obviously must have enough fuel to complete your trip, checking the fuel level isn't part of the 7-step inspection method. Question number 341. Which of the following statements about tank vehicles is true? A. The term tank vehicle refers only to those vehicles having a permanently attached tank. B. All tank vehicles have some sort of bulkhead or baffle. C. Special skills are required to haul liquid tanks. The correct answer is here. C. Special skills are required to haul liquid tanks. Explanation. It takes special skills to drive a tank vehicle safely. A fully loaded tanker can be less stable and more prone to rollovers than other types of CMVs. To legally drive a tank vehicle with a rated capacity of 1,000 gallons or more, you must obtain a tank vehicle N endorsement on your CDL. Question number 342. You do not have a hazardous materials endorsement on your commercial driver's license. You can drive a vehicle hauling hazardous materials when A. The vehicle does not require placards. B. Someone who has the hazardous materials endorsement rides with you. C. The cargo will be transported less than 100 miles. The correct answer is here. A. The vehicle does not require placards. Explanation. You must have a hazardous materials endorsement on your CDL to drive a vehicle that is placarded for hazardous materials. However, not all packages of hazardous materials require placarding your vehicle. Federal Regulation 49 CFR 172.500 exempts certain amounts and types of hazardous materials from placarding, but states may impose more stringent requirements. Question number 343. Which of the following materials can be used in a Class A, B, C fire extinguisher to put out these types of fires? A. Carbon dioxide. B. Water. C. Dry chemical agent. The correct answer is here. C. Dry chemical agent. Explanation. When used properly, multipurpose dry chemical agents can safely extinguish Class A, wood, paper, and other combustibles, fires, Class B, flammable liquids and gases, fires, and Class C, electrical, fires. Carbon dioxide doesn't work well on Class A fires. Water should never be used on Class C fires because it's electrically conductive. Question number 344. Which of the following drivers is not exempt from obtaining a CDL under Florida law? A. A farmer carrying bread to the market. B. A long-haul trucker carrying bread. C. Military vehicle drivers. D. All of the answers. The correct answer is here. B. A long-haul trucker carrying bread. Explanation. Only military, emergency personnel, farmers and farm employees but not those employed to drive vehicles for farms, and recreation vehicles are exempt from needing CDLs. Those hauling product, regardless of whether it is food or not, must have a CDL. Question number 345. You come upon an accident and somebody is severely injured. Which of the following should you not do? A. Stay out of the way if authorized personnel are already helping. B. Keep the injured individual warm. C. Apply direct pressure to wound. D. Try to move them out of the vehicle. The correct answer is here. D. Try to move them out of the vehicle. Explanation. If somebody is severely injured in the aftermath of an accident, you should never move them unless absolutely necessary. If authorized personnel are already on the scene, it is best to stay out of the way unless you are asked to help. Question number 346. What is the most important and obvious reason to check your vehicle, according to the state of Florida? A. Employer liability. B. Safety. C. See if your vehicle needs a wash. D. Make sure your paint is not chipped. The correct answer is B. Safety. Explanation. Safety is the most important thing. Inspections can help you avoid costly and dangerous breakdowns and collisions. Federal and state inspectors will check your vehicle, so you must make sure it's safe before they put you out of service for violations. Question number 347. What is countersteering? A. Steering in the opposite direction from what other drivers expect you to. B. Turning the wheel in a counterclockwise fashion. C. Turning the wheel back in the other direction after steering to avoid a hazard. The correct answer is C. Turning the wheel back in the other direction after steering to avoid a hazard. Explanation. In a quick turning maneuver such as recovering from a drive wheel braking skid or moving from the shoulder onto the roadway at a higher speed, your vehicle will tend to overshoot and keep turning in the same direction more than you want it to. Be ready to counteract this by turning your steering wheel in the opposite direction. This is known as countersteering. Question number 348. If your brakes get wet on a rainy day, what can result? A. Hydroplaning. B. Excessive brake wear. C. Reduced braking power. The correct answer is C. Reduced braking power. Explanation. Brakes use friction to convert the kinetic energy of your moving vehicle into heat. If the brakes get wet, the brake shoes or brake pads may produce less friction. The brakes will grab, apply unevenly, or become weak. When you try to brake, your braking distance may increase, your vehicle may pull to one side, or the wheels may lock. On a wet road, locked wheels can cause a skid, or even a jackknife if you're pulling a trailer. Question number 349. Bridge formulas permit. A. Less maximum axle weight for axles that are close together. B. Less maximum axle weight for axles that are far apart. C. The same maximum axle weight for any axle spacing. The correct answer is A. Less maximum axle weight for axles that are close together. Explanation. The axle weight is the maximum weight that an individual axle or set of axles can support. When a vehicle's axles are relatively close together, a high axle weight risks overloading bridges and roadways. To avoid overloading bridges, a bridge formula is often used to specify a lower maximum axle weight for axles that are closer together. The U.S. Department of Transportation uses such a bridge formula to establish the maximum axle weights on interstate highways. Question number 350. What effects can wet brakes cause? A. Brakes can work better. B. Your foot can get tired. C. Brakes can grab or become weak. The correct answer is C. Brakes can grab or become weak. Explanation. Brakes use friction to convert the kinetic energy of your moving vehicle into heat. If the brakes get wet, the brake shoes or brake pads may produce less friction. The brakes will grab, apply unevenly, or become weak. When you try to brake, your braking distance may increase, your vehicle may pull to one side, or the wheels may lock. On a wet road, locked wheels can cause a skid, or even a jackknife if you're pulling a trailer. Question number 351. What is your most valuable way to see the sides and rear while driving? A. Get out and inspect the areas. B. Check your mirrors regularly. C. Look out the window. The correct answer is here. B. Check your mirrors regularly. Explanation. To find out what's happening behind and to the sides of your vehicle, check your mirrors frequently. Before driving your vehicle, adjust your mirrors to show parts of your vehicle as well as what's around your vehicle. Question number 352. Which of these statements is true regarding the use of drugs while driving? A. Speed and other amphetamines are allowed as long as you are using the drugs to stay awake. B. No prescription or non-prescription drugs are allowed at any time for any reason. C. Prescription drugs are allowed as long as your doctor says the drugs will not affect safe driving ability. The correct answer is here. C. Prescription drugs are allowed as long as your doctor says the drugs will not affect safe driving ability. Explanation. Some prescription drugs can impair your driving abilities. Take a prescription drug only if your doctor assures you that it won't impair your driving abilities. Question number 353. You must park on the side of a level, straight, undivided two-lane road. Where should you place the reflective triangles? A. 1 within 10 feet of the rear of the vehicle, 1 about 100 feet to the rear, and 1 about 100 feet in front of the vehicle. B. 1 about 50 feet to the rear of the vehicle, 1 about 100 feet to the rear, and 1 about 100 feet in front of the vehicle. C. 1 within 10 feet of the rear of the vehicle, 1 about 100 feet to the rear, and 1 about 200 feet to the rear. The correct answer is here. C. 1 within 10 feet of the rear of the vehicle, 1 about 100 feet to the rear, and 1 about 200 feet to the rear. Explanation. This is required by Federal Regulation 49 CFR 392.22. This regulation also specifies where to place warning devices on other types of roadways such as curves, one-way roads, and divided roadways. Question number 354. Where should your ignition key be during your pre-trip inspection? A. On the dashboard. B. In the ignition. C. Pocket on the door. D. In your pocket. The correct answer is here. D. In your pocket. Explanation. Make sure the parking brake is set, turn off the engine, and take the key with you when you are not in the cab during your vehicle inspection. Question number 355. In your pre-trip inspection, you are checking your steering and exhaust systems. Which of these problems should be fixed before the vehicle is driven? A. Oil on the tie rod. B. White smoke from the exhaust pipe before the vehicle warms up. C. Steering play in excess of 10 degrees. The correct answers here. C. Steering play in excess of 10 degrees. Explanation. If there is more than 10 degrees of play in your steering wheel, your vehicle will be harder to steer. Have the problem corrected before you drive the vehicle. In cold weather, white exhaust smoke that soon disappears may just be water vapor from condensation. However, if white smoke persists long after the vehicle has warmed up, have the condition checked. Question number 356. Whenever you stop for a break during your trip, you should A. Call in and check with dispatch. B. Check critical items such as the windshield wipers, heater, and defroster. C. Check critical items such as the tires, brakes, and cargo tie-downs. The correct answers here. C. Check critical items such as the tires, brakes, and cargo tie-downs. Explanation. Whenever you stop during your trip, check safety critical items such as brakes, tires, lights, and coupling devices if any. Also make sure that your cargo is still secure. Question number 357. Which of these statements is true about speed management? A. On slippery roads, it takes longer to stop and it is harder to turn without skidding. B. Shady parts of the road allow better traction than open areas. C. Road surfaces will freeze before bridges. The correct answers here. A. On slippery roads, it takes longer to stop and it is harder to turn without skidding. Explanation. Slippery roads provide less traction. Your vehicle's braking distance will increase, especially on a road covered in snow or ice, and turns will be more likely to cause skids. For safety, reduce your speed by about 1/3 on a wet road or about 1/2 on a snow-covered road. On an ice-covered road, slow down to a crawl and consider stopping altogether.